Hi, it's Richard here from Intelligent Advisor IT Consulting with another in our long-running series about the example decision service projects. This week we're going to be looking at the decision service called travel compensation. You'll notice that it's classified as belonging to a set of examples around issue reporting and lifecycle. Those of you who have been around Oracle Intelligent Advisor for a while will also know that travel compensation is one of the example projects for Oracle policy modeling as well. So in this case, it's a decision service which reproduces the logic of that project. We'll talk about the differences between the two in just a moment. But let's get started by downloading the JSON file, which we can do straight away from this link provided in the documentation. And then we can switch to our Oracle Intelligent Advisor Hub and go to the Projects tab before clicking Actions and Import. We can select the file. We should always make sure that we give it a nice, obvious name. In this case, I'm going to use a prefix so that I can easily find it again after this and delete it or not. And always make sure that you don't get in anybody's way and that you have a workspace that you can put all of these examples and demonstrations in. So in terms of contract, we have a variety of inputs. Specifically, we have the departure country, the arrival country, the carrier, so the airline country, as well as the scheduled departure date, the cancellation date, and a variety of other Boolean elements such as was it a fixed-wing aircraft, was it cancelled, were you denied boarding, and there are some specific legislative differences around French overseas departments. And the output contract is simply a Boolean. The passenger is entitled to compensation, yes or no. Let's go ahead and import that. So before we go into details, let's compare this to the Oracle Policy Modeling project of the same name. If you're familiar with Oracle Policy Modeling, you will know that the example projects drop-down gives you access to example projects, including the travel compensation project, which I've already downloaded and installed. When you first look at the decision service outputs versus the Oracle Policy Modeling structure, and you look at the goals of the Oracle Policy Modeling structure, you might be tempted to think that there are some things that are missing. For example, here you can see that the goal is the passenger is entitled to compensation, and you can see that this is the output of our decision service. There are a variety of properties, including information about whether the journey was the airport was in a French overseas department. And we can also see, for example, if we scroll up a little bit, the carrier, the country the carrier operates from, which we can see also appears in the decision service. The manner in which the two projects approach things is similar but slightly different, in the sense that the Oracle Policy Modeling project, from an end user point of view, you are told whether you are entitled to or not. So this is the equivalent of this attribute. If I now debug this and start, I'll say that I flew from France today and I flew to Germany today and it was a standard aircraft and I was denied boarding, and you can see that I have a likely entitlement. Plus, I'm also told the amount, whereas if you look in the decision service simply appears at first instance to talk only about whether you're entitled to compensation. But if you look a little bit closely, you'll see that the amount of compensation payable is also calculated by this decision service. So you have to learn to observe both Oracle Policy Modeling and Decision Services a little bit differently. In Oracle Policy Modeling, it tends to be a little easier at first, especially if you're used to looking for inputs and goals and top up, So you're looking for, what you're looking for. Likewise, you can go into the interview and you can look at the interview goals and understand, well, okay, this is basically what this project is working from. This project is designed to do. Whereas in a decision service, you have to rely upon your understanding not just of the contract to understand what are the inputs and the output, but also take the time to read through the actual rules and, where appropriate, dig into the rules using the navigation pane, but also, of course, live mode. So if I go into live mode now, and I'll say that I arrived in Germany, and I was not in a French overseas airport. I was on board a French airline, and let's just say that I was told the flight was cancelled on this date, and let's say that's the same date as the departure, and I was denied boarding, and I departed from France. It was a standard aeroplane, nothing special. The flight wasn't cancelled. The flight in kilometers is, let's say, 560. I wasn't offered rerouting, I wasn't downgraded, and I paid 1,500 euros. At which point we can see that I am entitled to compensation because the amount of compensation payable is greater than 0. And I can go and see where that's set. Okay. And the amount of compensation, you'll recall, is further down here. So it's not more than 1,500. So I get 250. So live mode is very useful to understand, first of all, obviously, the key objectives of the decision service, but also to help you understand how things actually work and how the different elements of the decision service are linked together. In the same way that going into Oracle Policy Modeling and looking at the Data tab and understanding the roles of different attributes can give you part of the picture. Of course, in Oracle Policy Modeling, you also perhaps have an interview, which gives you an added flavor for what is expected. But in any case, it has to be said that this is a very clean and tidy, well-executed decision service. Not that I'm any more qualified to say that than anyone else. In simple terms, from readability perspective, if I switch back into edit mode now, it complies with all of the expected good practice, such as headers, comments, source material links, clearly written, proper spacing, proper language, no weird capitals, no extra, it looks like natural English. Good use of subordinate headers so that the navigation pane automatically allows me to move up and down the document with ease. And of course, good use of tables, which makes things really easy to manipulate. For example, to remove something like so. It seems like a small thing, but correctly using multiple rule blocks, not sticking everything in one rule block, understanding that it's better to have separate rule blocks with headers for navigation purposes, but also for readability. All of these things are favorable when creating a decision service. Separating the substantive rules that represent the legislation, Article 2, Article 1, Article 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and Article 10, and then moving on to the interpretive rules, how we create extra rules in a sense to interpret data that is necessary for us to implement the substantive rules. So this is a very good split. And finally, of course, having the reference data in a manner that is extremely easy to modify or manipulate or update. This can only be a bonus. So an excellent travel compensation decision service can be used as a comparison tool in a way for you to understand how to implement the same rules as were in the travel compensation project for Oracle Policy Modeling. Great. See you next time. Bye-bye.